Thanks so much for tuning us in here on Local Decision 2025 on North Metro TV. And we're going to talk to Rob Rafferty, Lino Lakes Mayor. He's the incumbent running again. Rob, good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Thank you for having me.
You're happy it's election season, aren't
you? Yeah, sure.
So you're in the unique position of being the incumbent.
Yep.
What does that mean? Do you still have to get out and knock on doors and make your pitch?
You know, it's an interesting time. It really is. You do hear a lot of different things through the years, you know, of being on the council specifically, but it's a different message when you're running for a campaign type situation. The people are all of a sudden willing to talk. And generally speaking, they've got great ideas. Again, the opportunity to listen and learn is what you're trying to do. And then you also have an opportunity to share some of the knowledge you have on why things might be working the way they are, if you will. Not everybody always understands how things work when it comes to the planning and zoning part of a project. But at the same time, land is land. It's somebody's 401k at some point when they want to sell it. The same is true with farmers' fields, if you will. It's a farm today, but in the future it's going to be a 401k. But some of those things, people really, they latch onto their piece of property, which we all do. You take care of it, you nurture it, you water it, you take care of all these things. And when something changes, it doesn't seem right for some reason. But it's all good. I mean, it's part of how we develop, you know.
Well, where is Lino Lakes right now? What is the state of the city in your opinion?
You know, right now I think we're doing really well. We've got a lot of different things going on in public safety, if you will, related to police and fire. Recently we did an analysis to try and kind of tell us, okay, let's go back to the drawing boards after 10 years or roughly 10 years and understand where we at. We had a cross-train model that worked very successfully for us, but those things have changed to the point where it has evolved, and now we're evolved instead of being a public safety as one department with police and fire and led by a director. We now have, back to the old style, if you will, a fire chief and a police chief. And those two individuals are Kurt Bain, Chief of Police, and Dan Lawyer for the fire department. I tell you what, two absolutely excellent individuals. Their enthusiasm for their positions, their jobs, is second to none. And better yet, they're people persons, if you will. And they work with instead of people working for. So, all of the people that are in the police department, whether it's fire and the fire department, again, these people are their mentor might be that top chief, but at the same time, he wouldn't be there without them, and that's the way they treat them. Other things in the area, I mean, we've got a lot of different ideas going on for development. One of the things that we've been really excited about, it takes time, but about 3 years ago or so, we started a process that was kind of, how do we try to develop the city with more commercial development by bringing in that type of thing. We've got some land on the east side, large tracts of land, and we're doing what's called a shovel-ready proposal, if you will. And that's creating an avenue where we're running the road to the north, and at the same time we're running the sewer and water, which will open up this land for opportunities rather than waiting 5-6 years for the water and sewer to come in. Now it's there. So that's been a really successful program. And that's happening on the east side of 35E. And some of that development is actually starting now. We've got a new Aldi's that's coming in. Again, there's different commercial opportunities that this kind of creates. And then, of course, the same things about, so many other things, the more tangible things, if you will, staying on top of the roads, trying to stay and reinvest, if you will, for the parks and recreation department, if you will. And the same with the trails. Expand those trails. Those are they're the gateway to good health, if you will.
Exactly.
So those are positive information, things that are going on in the city. We've got new ownership as far as staff. We've got a new finance director, Tracy Toma. She's doing an excellent job. We've got Karen Anderson, who's the new city administrator. Again, she's doing an excellent job. And we've got all these other positions, if you will, that are, we've got good people in the city of Lino Lakes that are working to protect everyone's interests, that's for sure.
All right, the Northwest Maine area, that's a coveted chunk of land, and I know the city recently approved a master plan. Are you happy with that and the way that's going? I know it's going to be a process.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But
that's kind of the question of the hour, but the reality is I've been in the architecture field, not as the architect, but in the field for 40 years. And there's always a planning process and steps you take and all these different things. Are you answering all the things at one time? You're trying to. That's exactly what we're trying to address. When you're looking at this master plan that was presented for that northwest corner, again, these are things, they have a comprehensive plan that kind of highlights things for the Metropolitan Council as you move forward. And at the same time, we've had this in the plan saying we really need to do an analysis of this particular area with a master plan study. And then that's the master plan opportunity to say, what about commercial? What about density situations? We have to meet guidelines based on what the Metropolitan Council identifies for us. And this has been ruled by the Minnesota State Supreme Court. You have to abide or work with this because they are trying to plan for the bigger picture, which is the regional picture of the metropolitan area. So then we have to abide by those things. But the master plan itself, it is taking building blocks, whether it's commercial, housing, single family, or better yet, maybe medium density or higher density. You're taking these building blocks and putting them down. So now you have a kind of a framework put in. Now, is it perfect for everybody? Well, it might be nice for me in some areas, but not in others. And the same would be true for you. So it's not a perfect plan, but until it gives the building blocks and direction on how they're going to use this master plan. And then at the same time, whoever the developer is, they have to work with those building blocks, and then we kind of go from there. So it's a very interesting process, very lengthy, very detailed, and at the same time, it was well worth it, no question about it.
All right, so Met Council has this macro view of the region. Lino Lakes, being one of the many cities, has a micro view. When you guys get in the room together, how do you figure it out and move forward in the interests of both parties?
Well, we know if you don't play by the rules, it can be very expensive situation that's maybe fought maybe more in the courts, if you will. But again, as the Supreme Court of Minnesota identified in a particular case where it was challenging the Metropolitan Council, they cited what the Metropolitan Council is talking about, that importance for that regional development, if you will. As our comprehensive plans, we had, in 2020, we did in 2010, we had a 2030 comprehensive plan. In 2020, we have to have a plan done for 2040. So they're planning out, a good 20 years. And so the plan there, again, is it's a back and forth educational process with, we have staff, Michael Gershaw and his group in the community development. And again, we have outside consultants, if you will. And they're putting all these pieces together and trying to address the needs of the Metropolitan Council. And at the same time, try to work within those guidelines that is forming, based on the formed opinions of the residents. Oh, we don't want this. We would prefer to have that type of thing. All of it's all constructive criticism, but at the same time, we still have to kind of work with those things. And we're trying to hit both sides of the fence as far as working with all the residents. They're the taxpayers. They're the most important ones we have. And at the same time, working with the guidelines. So sometimes we feel like we're handcuffed, or maybe council does, but we got great staff that's helping guide us and educate us too.
All right, we know one of the appeals of Lino Lakes has that small town charm, yet it's in a major metro. But Met Council says 30% jump in population by 2050. So how do you plan for that and yet retain that charm that Lino Lakes has? I mean, how do you find the sweet spot?
The sweet spot's the hard one to find. They do have guidelines, but at the same time, developers or development still has to come in with those proposals that meet those guidelines to be able to get to some of those areas. And that's kind of what some of the challenges are. I mean, in the past 10 years, it's hard to believe, but we went from 20,216 as a population on the sign that says Lino Lakes to all of a sudden we're 10 years later and the new sign says 21,399. That's barely 1,200 people.
Yeah.
So, we're meeting the guidelines as far as what's happening in that respect for the Met Council. But at the same time, it's not that we're trying to promote just mass building, but at the same time, somebody's going to have to want to spend that money and do it. And as we all have seen, I mean, the interest rates and things have changed quite a bit. And because of that, I think things have slowed down quite a bit. But having said that, again, if the rooftops aren't there, the commercial development is not developing quite the same, and some of those things. So there's other areas, vast tracts of land that are available for commercial development. There again, that's what we're trying to propose. Let's get that going so we can have more of a comfort level, if you will, and create an opportunity to gain from the taxes of commercial development. So those are the things, the challenges that we're trying to work on and make sure that we can, aggressively, and again, we're aggressively trying to identify those things to create it and bring it in. And I think it's starting to happen more on the east side, but there's not as much land on the east, on this west side, which is, 35W, if you will. But so some of those things they're challenging, but we're finding that to be kind of constructively working quite well, actually.
So the city council has approved a preliminary tax levy, and it's a big bump, 16%.
Yep.
And a lot of that's for fire protection. So how do you sell that to the residents of Lino Lakes, because nobody wants to see the taxes go up, obviously?
Well, the biggest challenge is that it's all about, in our philosophy is always to create an avenue here that, number one, public safety, whether it's police or fire, we want to make sure that we are the entity, if you will, the employer of choice for people. At the same time, the analysis is saying the current concerns for safety are extremely important. Safety aspects, if you will, if there's a medical, time really takes a lot of, is such an important entity. Structural fires, again, they're more contained, if you will. The structures are built differently than they were in the earlier years, if you will, in the 60s, the 50s, whatever. So that's not as much an issue. But the response time, as well as the response personnel, the paid-on-call model, if you will, a phone call comes in, you're volunteering, you're going to that fire. We have wonderful men and women doing that. But in the analysis, it identified not that they weren't doing the job, it's just that there needed to be more of a scheduling type situation where they are guaranteed. If there's a fire, for some reason they didn't know Eric was out of town, how do you get there? Rob's out of town, how do you get there? So that was kind of the concern about that. And we're trying to address those things in particular with these the fire safety budget, if you will. And it is changing, there's no question about that. But at the same time, we feel it's important for the safety and well-being of the people in Lino Lakes. We are challenged by it. It's a big jump, but at the same time, the challenge is before us with the analysis, the information they've got. We're not going from, the analysis wanted to get us overnight to be full-time. And it's like, there are individuals that we will be putting on in full-time situations, but at the same time, again, we're trying to work with the wonderful men and women that we have in the duty crew and the paid-on-call. So it's a tough challenge.
So you've already gone through some turbulence, some bumpy air, as they say in the airline business, in your tenure as a mayor. How's that made you better, and how will that make you even better moving forward if you're reelected?
It's like yourself in the industry, working on TV and things like that. You learn from each one of the experiences, and you have your eyes and ears open to just about everything. You formulate decisions based on the importance of the people that you're with. Everybody's got a valued opinion or a comment and stuff like that. So the challenges have been trying to work between the guidelines and then at the same time trying to address the needs of the people. So often things are going much better than trying to just solve a problem for 51% of the people. But that's the reality of it. I mean, you're trying to address it as best you can, and at the end of the day, you're trying to make sure that you're fiscally being responsible. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, whether it's a liberal or a conservative. When you're working with taxpayers' money, you have to be conservative. You have to do all of these things because it's not just it's our money. It's not just my money, my alone. So you're always trying to address that, and that's one of the challenges that I've had. I've been on the council for 10 years, and now for the mayor in the last 6 years. But those challenges haven't changed at all. Everything's still just as important as far as the challenges of how do we address things, things like that. I'll use an example. We have right now a water treatment plant and facility. That's been 5 years in the making based on something that was determined that we have a higher level of manganese, and that was 5 years ago. It is now 5 years later, and it's finally in the ground. But that's that process.
Yep.
Now, for every one of those years that we miss because of the process and trying to make sure we're doing everything right and addressing it and all these things, I mean, those dollars and cents go up quite a bit. And in that particular case, they did. The state of Minnesota, we were able to get a funding grant because of the importance of water, and we got a funding grant for like $13 million. Well, that helps tremendously towards a building that what at one time was about $22 million, and all of a sudden it's like $34 million. So fantastic opportunities, but everyone knows what a grant is. It's a volunteer effort for you and I to pay taxes on something we didn't agree to. Well, we might as well find a way to try and gain from those dollars and cents that are out there in these programs that are available out there.
All right, in closing, why should the viewers vote for you?
Well, it's been an integral part of my life and my family's life. We've been here for 28 years, and I've been involved for 27. And the mission was to get involved and educate myself on how things are and how they're going, and at the same time really understand how it works. Because what one thinks about is a little bit different than how it actually works at City Hall, with the guidance of whatever the zonings are and things like that. But, in reality, I mean, when my wife and I had kids, 30-some years ago, it's like there was nothing in our mind that said that those kids were going to stay that age. I mean, things do change. They too develop. And I've been a process of trying to make sure that I'm doing everything in my interest for the city of Lino Lakes to make sure that it stays just that. A wonderful place to bring your children up. A wonderful place with the school system. Everyone knows without the school system, you really don't have much going for you. Mm-hmm. So support of that type of effort with the school system, Centennial School District, Forest Lake School District, and we also have an area, White Bear Lake School District. Again, these are creating wonderful neighborhoods, if you will, throughout the entire city. And then I would just, outside of that, those are the things I'm trying to do. I've educated myself a lot through the process of learning with wonderful people, whether previous mayors or previous council members, or better yet, just people in general. So the opportunity to listen and learn has been great, and I feel that I've really learned a great deal from that, and I'm continuing to learn on a daily basis. So I would ask that you continue to support me, and I very much appreciate your time, and I love serving the city of Lino Lakes.
Rob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, and bless you and the family, and better yet, thank everybody here at North Metro TV.
All right, very good. He's Rob Rafferty, running for Lino Lakes mayor, currently the incumbent. We are Local Decision 2025.